These three gentlemen take mental well-being seriously, but are not serious. They'd rather swear and make irreverent jokes. Now that you know, the healing may commence.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Probably Not Okay, the podcast that makes fun of mental well-being. See, no one told you life was going to be this way. I'm your host for this episode, Brandon Full, and with me, and with all of us, is...
Point.
I think that's me. Is that me, Brandon?
Okay.
I point to the other guy.
Your very best friend, Ryan Brown. It's funny because we're in a different order on every screen.
Yeah. We really got to figure it out for each other. Like, I'm going to put a sticker like that says Brandon's Ryan and Ryan's Brandon on my computer.
Oh my gosh.
So I know.
Getting into some super string theory here.
Wait.
You know what?
Am I below each of you?
Yes.
You're below me.
You're this way.
Yeah, you're down here.
Okay, so I'm always down.
Yeah.
So if either of you point in a direction that's not down, you're pointing at each other.
Yeah.
So now I know. It's easy for me. I'm the basement boy, so I'm down here and hashtag basement boy. And I'm Basement Boy, aka David Musgrave, your co-host for the show. We're probably not okay, Basement Boy.
I was just thinking if I could switch bodies with Brian for one day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Brian, if you and I switched bodies, like our brains were in each other's bodies, I think I would do 20 push-ups.
Just to see what that's like?
Yeah, just to see what doing 20 push-ups without getting winded would be like.
Yeah. I'd pick up something real heavy just so I felt...
Fuck yeah.
Just so I felt cool. Yeah.
I'd hurl it into, like, pick up a big heavy rock and just hurl it into the water off a bridge.
Oh, yeah.
That would feel awesome, wouldn't it?
And then just look around and be like, did you see that?
Yeah, but no one ever does. Yeah, too old to be a pro wrestler, just the right age to help you move office furniture.
Nice.
That's how I look at it.
Nice.
So, it's been a while, guys. We haven't recorded, and, I mean, we did the episode, David, you did the episode where you kind of had to do it by yourself that came out, what was that, like a week ago? Week and a half ago now?
Yeah, it was probably about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I think so.
And before that, it was a couple weeks. So anyway, it's been a while. I'm glad to be back, and I think you guys are glad to be back as well, right?
Yeah, I love podcasting
I very
with
much
you guys.
am.
Absolutely, I missed you both.
Me too.
So let's do our patented mental wealth hellness check-in.
No.
Hold on.
Right,
Brandon,
Ryan's
did you say mental wealth hellness?
I sure did.
Well, that's what it's called now, right?
Our mental wealth hellness check-in.
I just pictured like a bunch of like gold treasure in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that though. It's very Tolkien-esque.
Welcome to MWH. I like it. It works.
So who wants to give us their MWH first? Who wants to skeet their day onto us?
I am ready to skeet, Brandon, if I may.
Skeet.
Which is the polite thing to do when one skeets is ask permission.
I mean, yeah. You need the consent first,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, absolutely. My mental health has been pretty decent. I have found myself in a pretty good place again. I think I talked about this last time where, job's doing pretty well. It's been very stressful and very busy, but it is like, oh yeah, I keep remembering I work for a decent company and decent people, and they're not out to get me, at least not yet. And so that, finding some security in that, I still every single day think I get a message like, hey David, I need to talk to you real quick. Oh shoot, I'm getting fired. Still have that thought every day, but it doesn't happen. And, things are good there. So as we all know, a lot of my mental well-being is, my mental wealth is tied to my job. So things are going well there. I've picked up my side gig with the Portugal real estate again. That's going a little bit better than it did the first time. Still, we'll see if anything comes from that, but kind of doing that some. And that feels good to be trying to push something forward with that. And other than that, everything's pretty good. We just went to We just went to Louisville, Kentucky to do parents' weekend at my stepson's college, University of Louisville. Go Cardinals. And that was fun. We hung out with him, went to some interesting restaurants and just had a good time and got him some supplies, made sure he's good and doing his thing. And he seems to be doing decently well. And yeah, so the weird thing about that is, as y'all probably know, Hurricane Helen hit the North Carolina, not just North Carolina, but in particular for the story, hit North Carolina mountains pretty hard and Tennessee border pretty hard. And the route that we would normally take to get there does not exist. Literally, right now, the roads don't exist. A lot of the towns along the way no longer exist. They all got flooded and trashed, and it's really kind of sad. There's some special places to Kira and I, like Lake Lure, and a couple other places up there that just got trashed. It's just weird to think that they're not there, at least not, and may never be again, at least not in the way that we knew them. So that's kind of weird. Yeah. We had to drive, instead of going that way, we had to drive all the way up into Charleston, West Virginia, and do the whole turnpike, and then go west through Huntington, and then into Kentucky that way. So luckily it didn't add a ton of time to the trip, but was definitely weird. Yeah. So
you said you went to some interesting restaurants?
Yeah, we went to a place called Hammerheads, which is basically like this little basement. Literally, it's like in the basement of a house. And that was interesting. It was great food. We had an elk burger with Brie on it. Got a cooked medium rare, and it was rare. So got to just gnaw on some. It's like going out in the woods and biting an elk in a good way.
Which is something we've all dreamed of.
And now I know the sensation.
I love elk burgers, though. So freaking good.
Heck yeah.
You've had it before? I've never had this before.
Elk is delicious, man. Have you had venison?
What does it taste like? No.
So
I am possessed of exclusively pedestrian tastes.
We need to fix this. This is why we need to live close to each other, because I would cook you up an elk burger tomorrow. But
what is it? Will choke out an elk with his hands.
Hell yeah!
He would just to the ground, and then
lightly leave its eyes,
and then it'll make you a delicious burger out of it. It's
and rend its flesh with my hands. And
it'll be like the opening scene from Return of the King, when it's like that particularly visceral, like choking scene. Only it would be with David and an elk.
Yeah,
give us the meats, precious.
See, this is why I wish we had more fans, because there'd be some fan art of that shit after this episode, and I want to see that.
And because we're empirically hilarious and do good work.
Well, that as well.
Also another reason, yeah.
Yeah, that too. At the base of the comment.
But I mean, yes, I also would like some weird fan art.
But for the fan art, if I'm being honest, that's really weird.
Yeah. Can one of our listeners draw our fursonas? That'd be great.
Yeah, I would love that. You don't even have to draw well. It does not have to be good. And in fact, if it's not, sometimes that's better.
Sometimes that's better, yeah.
So.
I don't think I'd have a fursona. I think I'd be a scaly. I'd be a dragon.
Oh, is that not? I guess so. I assume there's probably. I know nothing about furry culture. I assume there's some delineation between.
You got the furries and you got the scalies. The scalies live at the top of the mountains, and the furries live in the forest.
They're down in the woods and sometimes in the caves.
Part of the same. They're all part of the same subculture, right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
I don't know much.
This doesn't have to turn into a. Yeah, I don't either.
I just want to say.
Yeah, me neither.
Do you or do you not have a furry tail in your behind currently?
That's a damning non-answer.
Wow. Yeah. So, anything else with your mental wealth, hellness, David, my good friend?
I was trying to think if I went to any other interesting restaurants that are notable. Oh, we also had duck tacos that were at Hammerheads. Where else did we go?
Tacos. Wow.
Kira, what other restaurants did we go?
Living your best culinary life.
Yeah. Oh, and then we went to an Irish pub. Not as notable. But we went to this place called Sergio World Beers. That was a trip. I'm gonna put together a little video. We tried to record in there, but like they kept coming and interrupting us, and so I'm gonna try to put together like a video montage of what we did, and I'll maybe post that to our channel or something. But dude, this place, it looked like an abandoned building in the front of it, very small abandoned building. You go in, there's like a big bar in the front that looked like it was built in somebody's den, and there's like some beer cases, and then there's like a flag that's like covering a back room. I'll keep this story short, but you would think that was it. But then the lady was like, they had 50 beers on tap, which is kind of crazy in and of itself. All really good, like Belgian style beers and stouts, which those are like our favorite beers. And then the lady's like, "Can I show you around?" I'm like, "I can see, thanks." But then we're like, "Sure, whatever." So she takes us to this back room where there's just like somebody's fridge full of all these Latin American beers. And then we go back, and like this place used to be a restaurant, so there's all these booths and like more coolers, and then like a walk-in cooler with all these Belgian beers, and then like another hallway with beer coolers on both sides. And you'd think that'd be it. No, behind another flag is another hallway full of like coolers of beer. Beer was tucked everywhere in this place. It was like it's like this dark, dingy, like old house full of like, it felt like a haunted house, but instead of ghosts, it was beer. It was weird, man.
Like a beer labyrinth.
Yeah, it was a beer labyrinth. It was very much like, it's okay. Beer labyrinth meets like homespun a haunted house. Like your neighbors, like you go to trick or treat at your neighbors.
Popping out at you, like,
yeah, exactly what it happened.
I peed a little.
There's flags covering like each section, so you think you're done, but it's almost like, you know, walking through a haunted house and you have to push your way through like plastic sheets and shit. It's like, beer, there's so much beer. It was terrifying. I loved it.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, so
hey you guys hang on just 1 second.
Yeah,
give me 1 second.
We'll talk about haunted beer some more. Take your time, man.
Yeah.
Boo.
Ooh, haunted beer.
Haunted beer.
Are you gonna go and do any haunted houses this holiday?
We don't have any plans for haunted houses this year, which is kind of sad. I'd love to go to a good haunted house. We're gonna go to the Ren Fair hopefully in a week or so.
Oh, you bastard! I want to go to a Ren Fair.
Come to North Carolina. You're welcome to tag along.
Come to the coast, have a few laughs.
We're not on the coast, but hey.
I was trying to do a Die Hard thing. And,
yeah.
That's.
Come to Charlotte, they said. Come to a haunted house, they said. That's my Bruce Willis, I guess.
Yeah,
I've seen worse.
Spooky.
Welcome back. We're talking about Bruce Willis.
Thank you. That's fun.
Going to a haunted house. Yeah.
So tell me, Ryan.
How
are you? How have you been, buddy?
Not great, but I have a funny story that I want to tell you guys.
Yes.
So, I wanted to tell you this in person because telling it via text would have been, I feel like it would have made it less funny. So my youngest, Willow, is in the color guard and in high school. And the color guard is like the people who go out with the band at football games and they tour all the flags around and they do like these elaborate routines and stuff like that. And they're basically like lumped in with the band as far as like organization stuff goes. So the other day, and so I have to go to like all the football games, which by the way, guys, I don't know if you guys know this. Football is fucking boring. I can't believe like people sit and watch this and prefer it to pro wrestling because like nobody comes back from the dead. Nobody's got powers. Nobody can time travel. Nobody like runs in at the last minute to steal the football. Like this is bullshit.
Wait a minute. Before you continue, I'm so sorry. I think you may have just created something though. You know how they tried to do that like X football league or whatever? The thing is they took it too seriously. They should have made it a little more like pro wrestling where all of the things you just described happen instead. They would have been billionaires. That sounds like the cool. I would watch like some kind of like future post-apocalyptic sports. Like
they actually did that. There was a thing that was called Mutant League Football. You remember this, Brandon? It was like an animated series.
Wasn't that a Sega game?
It was.
It was a Sega game, and then it was also an animated series about monsters that play football.
Well, and then it kind of turned into that board game that you can play now. I can't remember what it's called, but
that's right. I actually have seen that.
I think it's just called Mutant League Football.
But they need to do a live action version of that where like they try to pretend it's real. And that would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
like with national teams and shit. Go ahead.
Can I pitch something real quick?
Yes, and then let's let Ryan get back to his funny story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ryan. Football game, guy dies on the field, everybody mourns it, and then the camera is there to like show after the funeral. The lights go down, and then you see the guy's hand reach up and grab a football.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's a football that was fumbled into the end zone, so it scores a touchdown.
Yeah. You think... That's it, yeah.
and then they go to do the extra point, and he pushes the kicker aside and kicks it, and his foot flies off with the football. Both go over. They give him extra points for the foot as well. Writes itself.
Yeah, I mean, this is all great. It's all great.
Ryan, you had a funny story you were telling?
I think the moment has passed.
No, we need it. Please don't. I really want to hear this. I feel so rude and bad. If you don't tell the story, I will quit the podcast because I have done you dirty if that's the case.
Okay, so we were the game was over, and it was like halftime or something, and I go down and see Willow like between after their set and stuff like that, or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. It might be called the set. And I'm just like talking like, hey, how you doing? You think it's going well out there? Blah blah. Just like being supportive dad. And then this little guy walks up. He was probably younger than Willow, like a like prototypical band geek. He was like this short, skinny, like braces, a little dollop of acne and glasses and like the tall hat and everything. And he comes over and is like, "Hey, Willow," and Willow just fixes him with a patented Willow hard stare, like no emotion, and then just goes, "Beans," and the guy then walks away. And so after that, I look back to Willow, and I'm as though to be like, "Yeah, you need to explain what just happened." And so Willow was like, "Oh, everybody calls that kid's Beans because he's really annoying." And I was like, "Does he want to be called Beans?" And she was like, "He's fine with it." And I was like, "Okay, if he's fine with it, like don't be calling people stuff they don't want to be called." And Willow was like, "Nah, he's fine with it." And I said, "Do you know his real name?" And Willow was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, what's his real name?" And guys, I swear to God, my hand to Superman, Willow says without missing a beat, his real name is Blade. And I was like, hold up, what? I was like, what? Okay.
He does not want to be Beans then.
So many jokes just flooded my brain. Like not one couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And so I was like the kickboxing vampire. And Willow was like, yeah, like Blade from Marvel. And I was like, does he know about Blade does he know about the kickboxing vampire? And Willow was like, I don't think he does. And I was like, wait, does he choose to be called Beans? And Willow was like, no, I mean, everybody just calls him Beans, and he just kind of rolls with it. And I'm like,
no.
What? Like, his parents named him Blade, I assume, ironically, like as a bit.
Because they knew what hell he was going to go through in high school, so they were trying to at least give him Blade.
Just like fucking, like genetically, like, one of them has to at least look a little bit like him, right?
Yeah.
So they had to know what they were gonna get.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what this kid needs? We need to reverse boy named Sue him. We need to give him the hardest, most badass name possible after
awesome.
a kickboxing vampire. And I was like,
so I gave you that name so people would shit when they heard your name.
so vampires would be afraid of you.
What's your name? Oh, my name's Stormrunner. Stormrunner Blade Master.
My name's Blade.
Blade. That's badass.
Yeah.
Man.
And so I was like, well, but Will even said, like, Dad, if you saw that kid and I said his name is either Beans or Blade, like, which one would you think it was? And I was like, no, I mean, yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, he looks like a Beans.
Blade don't want to be Blade don't want to be Beans, baby.
Well, I think he kind of did. Like, it's kind of a situation where, like, if I don't know, maybe he resents his badass name, which I can't imagine. I can't imagine that.
No.
And yet, there it was, like, right, and I just sort of stood there, like, in awe of this entire exchange that just took place, and then also the one that I had too. And I was like, and I was, there's been on more than one occasion I've thought to myself, like, did I do my kids dirty by, like, giving them kind of like a little bit weird names? But then I was like, nah, no, my kids are not named Blade.
No, your kids have perfectly awesome names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I did get into a fist fight with my clothes dryer the other day. And
dude.
About it.
I definitely thought that sentence was going to end a little earlier than it did, and I thought we were in for an even better story than the bean story, and that was going to be tough to do. So.
No, my I was doing laundry, and my clothes dryer it's been doing this thing. There's obviously something fucking wrong with it. What it is, don't know, but it's been beeping just randomly, like, as the clothes are drying. But here's the thing that sucks shit for real: it's beeping arrhythmically. Like, it's not like beep beep beep. It's like beep 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 beep. And I was like, oh my god, it's making me nuts. And I couldn't figure out what was causing it. And it was like a straw that broke the camel's back kind of situation.
Sure.
I just fucking decked it. I just hauled off and just smashed it with my fist, and I'm pretty sure I did some damage to myself, but it stopped beeping.
You Fonzied it.
That's what I was hoping for.
That's what I said. I was telling that story to my coworkers this morning, and so I said, Fonzie did. But Fonzie was more of like a precise, a controlled explosion, not an act of fury, but an act of an assertion of dominance. Mine was just like, you motherfucker, and punch.
Yeah.
But it worked.
It's funny.
So let that be a lesson, listeners.
It's funny
when in doubt, hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. That applies to a lot of situations. It's kind of funny that you said that too, because it's kind of funny when you lean back and I saw Vault Boy on your shirt, because I was about to say that sounds kind of like an experiment that Vault-Tec would do, like make appliances that make arrhythmic beeping just to see how long it took to drive the occupants of the vault insane. So
turns out not long.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was just the other day. Other than that, I feel like there was something else I wanted to tell you guys, but I can't remember what it was. You guys see this? Like, look at this. I got this extra line of black here. You see this?
Is that new?
I've never noticed it before. See this? It's like I got my usual thing going on, but now there's like this extra.
That would be weird if you like went like reverse gray, like that was gray and then it decided to go back to normal. Because I don't know that I've noticed that either.
Not me either. And it's just, I don't know if it's just the light in here or what.
You know what? Something I have noticed on my beard though lately is that my mustache seems like it's getting darker, and that it like gets darker down into here. Like you see how this part is like goes down further darker. I've never noticed that about myself, and I just know maybe there's like some kind of natural phenomenon happening to men's facial hair across the world.
I don't know.
Some sort of facial hair cryptid.
Yes. Brandon, have you noticed anything unusual about your facial hair?
Weird?
Not particularly, no.
That is weird now that you mentioned it, Ryan. I don't know that I'm.
I remember what I wanted to tell you guys. This is great. So, over the weekend, I had nobody here with me. Like, my kids were off doing stuff, and my wife had like some conference she was speaking at, and so like I was by myself. And hey, that's not great. That's not great for me, mentally speaking. It's like, hey, there's nothing to do. There's nothing for you to do. And you're just going to be alone and stare into the middle distance. So that was bad. So my coworkers were like, come hang out with us. And I was like, well, I guess I don't have a reason not to. And so I did. And I don't know if you've ever hung out with drunk therapists.
I can't say that
But-
I have.
No.
But they try to do drunk therapy to you.
This sounds right.
Yeah, no, it was great because I mean the majority of the people I work with are therapists, and so like they were all like going out and they had some they imbibed some spirits, as Dickens might say, and then I guess it dawned on at least one of them like, hey, we don't know anything about you, like you're super mysterious and don't tell anybody anything, and I was like, yep. And so then they were like, well, let's try and therapize him. And I was like, I've destroyed therapists. I made my last therapist cry. I'm so close to winning therapy. I'm so close.
You're almost there. Yeah.
I know.
I have a question. I'm assuming they didn't peer pressure you into imbibing yourself.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Fun fact for our listeners, if I haven't mentioned it before, I drank alcohol before.
Right. Which is why I made that assumption. It would have been buck wild if that was the first night you chose to try, like, getting a little loose, because then you would have told them more than you would have wanted to, I'm sure.
Or my greatest fear, I would have because the reason I've never drank is because pretty much everybody in my family who drinks, they flip out and turn into a rage monster, and I was like, oh, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah, that would not be good. If it's
So more statistically likely, I would have gotten drunk and like fucking flipped over a table and challenged someone to a fight. Or
genetically speaking, probably smart not to.
So, but anyway, what about you, Brandon? How are you doing?
Well, let me look at my notes here. I started a new job.
Are we
I
supposed
think
to
you
take
did?
Are we supposed to take notes?
Are we supposed to be taking
I
notes?
haven't been taking notes.
No, these are my notes for my mental check-in.
Right,
my
but that's what I
mental
mean.
health
That's what I
notes.
mean. Are we supposed to come prepared for their mental?
Yeah, because
No,
I
I-
basically am just like, I remember to tell a funny story later.
I do it because I won't remember the specific things I want to talk about, and then afterwards, because I have that habit of just like when I go to therapy, when somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'm like, oh, I'm fine, even if I'm not fine and things have been going crazy. So I write it down so I remember to talk about it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, you guys do need to bring notes next time, and I'm disappointed that you didn't.
Shit.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to do 10 Hail Marys and slap yourself with a ruler a couple times.
I mean,
Like
the ruler part, consider that done. That's
Punishment fits the crime.
pretty par for the course, but I don't know how to Hail Mary.
Take the ring.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. All right. So I started a new job, and I left the job already because the job sucked, and it was difficult to do because I really was getting paid very well for this job, and it was something in my field of interest. I don't want to get into it just because it's a pretty well-known big company in this local area, so I'm not trying to.
It's Amazon.
Whatever. It's Amazon. I was working for Jeff Bezos directly.
Fuck you,
underneath him.
Bezos.
Yeah,
Hey
fuck
Bezos,
you.
get fucked.
Hey, yo,
you,
eat that dick,
Jeff
Bezos. And this is just
I don't think enough is made of the fact that his last name is Bezos, which is Spanish for kisses. Like, why aren't we calling him Jeffy Kisses or something?
That's
Jeff Smooch.
so cute.
Jeff Smoocher.
Yeah,
Mr. Smoochy. I love it.
old Jeffrey Smooch.
Old Jeffrey Smooch is pretty great.
So yeah, I haven't found a new job in the meantime. I did, since we recorded last, I also had a birthday. I turned 40. So I rolled into turning 40 unemployed and single, living with a cat.
Just
So-
don't look
yeah.
at it, Brandon. Brandon, just don't look at it.
I'm trying
Just
not
don't look
to.
at it.
I'm trying to bring some optimism to my
Mhm.
life, but it's difficult. It's just like a big black hole staring me in the face. Like,
Yep. Just don't look at it.
I'm
Just look the
slowly
other way
getting
for-
pulled towards it. I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Just don't look. Just don't
Like
look.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're awesome if it helps. And I'm being
I
sincere
think
as
you're
hell.
awesome too. I'm
Well, and the
glad you
thing
made
is,
it to
like-
40.
Me too.
I'm glad I made it to 40. I'm relatively happy with what I'm doing outside of the fact that I don't have a job right now. That sucks. But like, I like my apartment. I like living with my cat. I don't have my daughter as much as I'd like because of some behind the scenes stuff, but I still see her pretty regularly. So like, I like my life for the most part,
Mhm.
but there's certain things I would like to change, certain things I would like fixed.
Yeah. Well,
And you've got time to fix it, you know?
I will say that is very true. You do have time to fix it, and the fact that you can say all of that stuff leading up to it is really what's fucking important anyway. Like,
Yeah.
like that's the hard part in my opinion. Like you can get a job that is relatively easy and pays really super well, and you could still be fucking miserable. Oh, that's the story of a lot of people. So if you could just get that last little piece of security, then you half the battle's already won, man.
That's how this job was. It was good money, but man, I just could not fucking do it. I was so unhappy every day. Like it had been years and years since I've had a job where literally I would be driving to work thinking, I wonder how hurt I would be if I just crashed my car
Yeah.
so I didn't have to go to work.
Yeah.
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 You know, so
Again,
it sucked.
we had that exact same conversation when I was at my last job with old Johnny Duckquack, making me miserable every single day, and not to mention other people. The more hindsight I have of that place, and I've actually I've made a new friend at my work now who I have a lot of things in common with and has a very similar background, has worked at similar companies to what I have. And the more I talk to him and reflect on like what was bad about my last job, dude, that place was sucking my soul.
Yeah.
So that you don't want that. I'm glad that you. I'm gonna be honest, and this is just me, me being a true friend who will speak the truth to your face. I was sad. I was sad that you had to quit because I felt like really good for you, and there were a couple times where like, hey, just use them, get the money, do what you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But it was obviously getting to the point where that was going to be a toxic situation, and your mental health was definitely going to decline over time with that place. So I'm glad that
I was trying to. I really was trying to just stick it out.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of bullshit I can deal with, but whenever I'm talked down to, like
Yeah.
like I'm hired to do a job, I'm paid well to do a job, and then I'm talked down to like I've never fucking touched a keyboard before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I would punch a motherfucker. Like they're lucky you didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had an experience similar to that. I just found out about this today. In fact, a manager got shitty with me for a minute, and I was, diplomatic about it, and then went about my business. And then one of my coworkers was like to our manager, was like, "That we don't talk to Ryan that way." I was like, "That's
Nice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I like that.
But yeah, that's all I've got as far as my mental wealth hellness check-in. So
Hellness.
let's get into the
Can we just call it hellness? This hellness is good too. Your
hellness is cool.
Let's get into some hellness. It does kind of
So
sound like
we're-
Hellman's though. Sorry, I'm stepping all over your
Yeah, it's
transition.
like we're
Limit-
just fucking Winnie the Pooh in a jar of mayonnaise.
Oh, I do like some mayo.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah, is this a new character? Is this Winnie the Pooh, but he's with mayonnaise instead of honey?
Yes.
And the jar is misspelled like the honey jar.
Yes, that's correct. I panicked. I actually do a decent Winnie the Pooh when I don't try, but when I try, it's not good. So that was Schminny the
It was
Pea.
like Pooh his grandma.
Schminny the Pea when he eats jars of mayo.
He loves it. Can't get enough of it.
Yeah. I'm done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Am I okay to introduce the topic now?
Yeah, dog.
All right, the topic this time is failure. And I want to start with this. I sent you guys the questions ahead of time, so you had a little bit of time to think on them, because I know sometimes, at least for me, I get a question, I'm like, shit, I don't know. So here's the big question first. What is something you feel like you have failed at? It's a tough one. Might get serious.
Oh no, you pointed at Basement Boy.
Basement Boy, knock, knock, knock.
Hashtag B-boy.
Yeah, pointed at the old B-boy. What is something that I failed at? Creative endeavors. Making that a living in my life instead of just a pastime or hobby is one big thing that I failed at. It could be said that I failed at 2 marriages, but I really like to. I was joking earlier, thinking about these questions. I was joking with Kira, and I would rather pose that as I failed at marrying the right woman. Because it took me a couple times to do that. And in the end, I didn't fail at that. So that's, I guess, maybe we can't even claim that.
Well, that's going to lead into one of my questions later. Oh my God. As far as like, if you feel like you've improved on something, like you failed but then succeeded later on with something. But anyway, we'll get into that.
Then I'll save that.
Okay.
And say that following my dreams. I failed at following my dreams. 99.9% of humans fail at this, but I am one of them, and that's the biggest thing that I kind of thought maybe I wouldn't. I'd be one of the 0.1 people that didn't. So we'll roll with that and kick it over to Ryan.
I feel like I've failed at most things in my life, honestly. Like, I consider myself largely a failure. Pretty much everything I've ever really attempted to do, or whether it's, relationships, or like you were saying, David, with marriages, or anything really, like, I don't think I think I largely think about it in that capacity. Yeah. What
That
was the other
you've
question?
you feel like you've just kind of failed at most things.
At life, more or less, yeah.
So why do you think you failed? Like what about it screams failure to you, or says failure to you?
I mean, just mostly, and I recognize some things are out of control.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, we're stuck in the the terminal stages of capitalism and whatnot, and that tends to limit people's ability to be upwardly mobile or have fulfilling lives and stuff like that. So I recognize some things are outside of my control. Um, but I don't know, just kind of like what David was kind of saying a little bit too, about, like, being in bad relationships, but then also too, it's like whenever you've had so many bad relationships in a row, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, there is a common thread here, and unfortunately, it's me. And then, I mean, I didn't. I don't know. Like, I haven't been able to provide the life that I wanted to be able to provide for my kids,
Yeah.
and that sucks shit. Like, my son grew to adulthood without ever having a bedroom at my house, so that sucks. And I mean, that's just an example.
Yeah, I know.
And, like, I have no security or stability in my life. Like, I'm always one bad day away from complete and utter, like, ruin and collapse.
Yeah.
So you know, like it's a flat tire away from utter destruction, you know. And that's not like that's not necessarily success. And as far as like you mentioned like dreams and stuff like that, like my dreams, if you can call them that, are so like mundane right now. Like survival
Mm.
is a dream. You know what I mean? And that's like anything beyond that is like, oh, holy shit! Look who's eating Little Caesars pizza today.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Apparently, there's something called Walk-in Wednesdays. Have you heard of this?
No, what is
You
that?
get the pizza a lot cheaper on Wednesdays if you walk in and get it. I guess. I don't
What?
know.
Really?
Yeah, Wednesdays. Walk-in
God
Wednesdays.
damn!
Remember that.
I will remember that.
How do you feel about your creative endeavors like podcasting and stuff? Do you view that as largely a failure? Do you view that as relatively successful considering we still do it?
Well, for me, no, I don't view it as a failure because I think the point wasn't like fame and monetary success. It was
Mm-hmm.
to make a podcast for me anyway. And there's no like I don't think that there's a wrong answer per se. But for me, I just like making podcasts. I've been doing it for so long now that it's its own reason, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I can piggyback on that and say the exact same thing. I think it's neat whenever something kind of cool happens on even a small scale, where it's like, oh, this episode we did got double the views that we normally get for some reason.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's really neat. But to that point, there are videos we've put out, there are podcasts we've put out where like we're like if a dozen people consumed it.
Yeah.
And I don't care. And another reason I don't care is because I also see this as an analog of this time in our lives. It's almost kind of like a three-way diary of just where we are in life. And even when we're not talking about like ourselves, when we're not doing our mental wealth wellness check-in, we are kind of just exhibiting ourselves in this moment, even through the stupid jokes that we make and just observations we make. So there could be a time, if I'm lucky enough to live to 85, and I'm just sitting around and be like, remember the days, and I go back and listen to it just for the hell of it. That
Yeah.
hopefully that will exist as a time capsule across I hope many years of us doing this, even if it's just for us later, not for anyone else. That is success to me, because that was the whole point. And if nothing else, even though it's hard for us sometimes to make the time to get together, or there's sometimes when I'm also just being honest that I don't want to do it. I'm like, we're going to record tonight. I don't really feel like I want to, but then we start and I'm like, it's my buddies. Like, I just like talking to you guys. And so even if it's just an excuse for us to get on and do that, it's a success for me.
Yeah. See, I consider, like, I thought about this question a lot whenever I wrote it, and I could choose relationships. I have a string of failed relationships. Talking about Ryan, when you look at the common denominator, I actually had that conversation with one of my exes whenever we were in a fight. I was like, it was towards the end of the relationship, and I could tell, and she could tell, and I was like, I don't understand why all my relationships end this way. And she goes, what's the common fucking factor, Brandon? And like that stuck with me, where I was like, oh, it is me, And there's a kind of folk parody singer named Tom Lehrer, I think is how you pronounce it. And he has a quote where he says, I'm not a bachelor, I've just skipped a few divorces. And I feel like that's where I'm at. So I don't consider my string of relationships failure, because I've reached a point now where I feel like I don't need to be with somebody. I would like to be with somebody, but I don't need to be with somebody like I did throughout my 20s and early 30s,
Yeah.
So the thing that I picked that I failed at is also kind of what you suggested, David, the creative endeavors. I started a podcast before this one 12 years ago now, Dueling Ogres, my old podcast, and I tried so fucking hard to get that thing off the ground. And, we got we would have viewers and we had fans and we reached out and we made connections and stuff. Some people I connected through the podcast there who listen to this podcast now, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't go anywhere, and then the whole thing just fizzled out at the end. That's what gets me the most. So that's what I considered a failure. That it was a two-way. It was two people involved in this. I'm trying not to get too, incendiary. There were two people that did the podcast, myself and my friend. I wanted the podcast to continue, and he seemed to not want the podcast to continue, and it fizzled without any discussion at all. So I consider that a failure on my part, that I wasn't able to advocate for it more to continue in some capacity. And we stream on Twitch and stuff now, you can watch that still where we do D&D, but I don't know. That's one of the things that I consider to be one of the biggest failures. And I mean, again, I could also pick like what you suggested as being a parent, Ryan. My daughter, I mentioned earlier, she doesn't come here because she saw a flea on my cat. I've treated my cat multiple times for fleas. I've cleaned everything. I don't see fucking fleas here. But she thinks there's fleas here, so she doesn't want to come. So I see her when I go visit her, and it sucks. I don't consider that a failure. I mean, I can't control if there's a flea in here or not. I can clean everything. I can do the best I can. I keep my apartment as clean as possible.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent there. I apologize.
No,
I think that's relevant to what we're talking about.
It's absolutely relevant to what we're talking about. And, it is funny because I think this is, in particular with Ryan, but also with kind of what you just said too, Brandon. I think that the view of failure for both of you is definitely a self-consciousness thing. Because I look at both of you and I see a lot of success. Like I envy aspects of each of your life. Brian, I see you as a healthy, funny, kind, helpful person, and they're living a day in your life where I could be as good as you are in many of those ways is very attractive to me. Brandon, similar to you, there are things that you do and say, and the way you live your life and the way that you project yourself that I find to be, very appealing as well. So
Are you referring to my freewheel and razzmatazz?
mostly. That's about 95% of about what I'm talking about. The other 5% is your sweet ass cat. So
Yeah.
no, but
your cat's razzmatazz.
I mean, yeah. Well, his cat's razzmatazz has a lot to do with his razzmatazz. There's some crossover in those percentages.
Yeah.
She brings the razzma, I bring the tazma.
It's cross
Let's call
pollination.
the whole thing off. Yeah.
I agree. But no, seriously, like I understand definitely the money thing, like that I certainly get. But I'd also say you've had a lot of bad days. I know you have, because we talk about them, and you haven't spiraled and you haven't broken. And there's something to be said about the success of your spirit, even through indomitable times. So I don't think either of you are failures.
You just get sick of like bad shit happening all the time,
Yeah.
Of course.
That's what every time something goes wrong, like my constant refrain is, I just need shit to stop happening.
Yeah, well, like, and for me, I want to talk about it, but I feel like so much bad shit happens at once that if I talk about it as it happens, I'm just constantly discussing.
You're just constantly
some bad thing that happened,
right?
And I don't want to do that. Like, I actively try to not be a sad sack.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not a sad sack.
Happy sack.
You're a happy sack, and just because you talk about things that are happening in your life, and if they are bad, it doesn't make you a sad sack. Like it's the way you handle it on the other side of it. So it may seem like complaining, but you can also talk about bad shit that happens to you. If it just so happens to happen to you 10 days in a row, then that's what happened to you.
But I mean, you also have to be realistic that everybody has their own shit going on in their life,
True. I guess who's the audience here? Like everyone you meet? like
Yeah.
okay.
The universe.
I thought you meant more like to us in this
Oh, no.
environment, because obviously we've kind of set aside an environment for all of us to be able to do this in.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which is kind of a special and different thing that probably a lot of people don't have.
Absolutely, yeah. So I want to go to the next question then, because I know we've been going for a while already. Let's flip it over to, what is something you have succeeded at? What is something you would consider you have success in your life about?
I'll go again since it's been in that order so far. Something that I've been successful in. It's hard to say this because I'm not where I want to be, but I do feel like I have been successful in changing my life for the better. And maybe this goes along with your other question, but I was successful in realizing that my life was not what I wanted it to be, both in the person that I was spending it with, and in my career or my current job. And so I decided to make some tough calls, and basically, in a lot of ways, put myself through a lot of. It got a lot worse before it got a lot better.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I realized that I can continue to make changes, even when they suck and they're hard. And so, thus, I've been through 2 divorces. Thus, I've changed jobs a decent amount in the last 5 years. But it has gotten me to the point where I'm in a relationship where I'm completely happy and supported, and in a job where I am completely happy and supported, and is providing me a platform to hopefully, which is going to be hard, it's going to take a lot of time, more time than I expected, but hopefully find a dream life, or at least like living in a place that also gives me happiness and support, and a lifestyle that is different than the hectic bullshit life that we all live in.
Yeah.
Without, saying too much. I want to live a life where I'm making enough, can feel like I'm moving toward a day that, if it's not retirement, it's at least like slowing down even more at some point in my life, and just enjoy the years that I have with my family and my friends, and not think about a lot of the things we've been talking about all the time. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Look at me. If you knew me over the last 20 years at different stages in my life, I was broke as fuck. I was miserable in my relationship. I was miserable in my jobs. Didn't feel like I had any prospects. Felt completely out of control. And I was successful in taking some of that control and changing my life to where I find incremental levels of peace. Am I at peace all the time? Do I have no worries? Of course not. But I'm finding those incremental steps, and now finally, for the first time, I feel like I have a platform. And honestly, I feel like if Duck Quack job that I work at now went away tomorrow, it would fucking suck. But I feel supported enough now to know that I would find the next thing that I needed to do. Or I could work at Walmart and flip burgers, and go work at my friend's business and do that for a couple of months until I found a job and make sure that we're getting by. Like, I don't feel as desperate and scared of the little losses or even the big losses as much as I used to. So I've given myself that much success. And yeah, that's the answer, I guess. That was long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Fuck yeah. Successful David.
Yeah.
I would consider you a successful person.
I appreciate
like from
that.
the outside,
Yeah,
from the
I'd say
outside in.
so. Yeah.
I would consider you a successful person. Ryan, what's something you've been successful with? And you better give me an answer, bub.
Well, I okay. Well, one thing that I did that I succeeded at was I actually achieved black belt status, and that
Great
was,
answer.
I mean, that was very difficult and
Yeah.
not. It was so wild to me, and this says something a lot about like my personal flavor of trauma where I had because usually like what happens is you take the test and then like it takes them a few days to like tabulate your performance score and all that other stuff. So like you don't know right away if you have succeeded.
Yeah.
And so I took the test and I very obviously succeeded. And I was sitting there like I remember sitting on the edge of my bed. Now comes the worst part, the waiting. And then my then at the time girlfriend comes in and she was like, "Hey, you did such a good job. You totally did it. You passed. You Mr. Tough guy, Mr. Black Belt." And I was like, I don't know that I passed yet." She was like, "You did perfect. Like you did everything perfectly. Like you definitely did." But my brain was still like, "You don't know that.
Of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you did what everything you're supposed to do. It doesn't matter. Like they'll find a way."
Yeah.
And by they, I mean like the universe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, like I said, I was successful and went on to teach for many years and do all kinds of fun stuff with that aspect of my life before that imploded. But because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but one of the hardest things about having a long martial arts career is dojos are not a very lucrative business. So sometimes they just fucking shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they fall victim to a lot of drama because you ain't about that dojo life until you've had a top sensei. Just saying.
So it's ego. Is there ego involved then?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
My sensei, who is the best sensei in the world and also the best sensei that I've personally ever had, is listening right now. So she knows that is a very real problem, not with her obviously, but with other senseis that exist. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's.
So what you're saying is Cobra Kai is a documentary.
I mean, okay, so yes, but instead of solving their problems through fighting, which would be a lot easier, and I have advocated for in the past, just let people fight. Just let people fight. Just solve all kinds of shit. Someone's being shit at you. You can get fought. So be nice. Anyway,
Ryan,
but
would you
instead of doing that shit,
go ahead?
what?
Nope, finish the thought.
I
Sorry.
said instead of doing that shit, they just get catty and shitty with each other.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, would you like it if I made you a T-shirt that said "Let's Karate" about it?
I like that phrase. That's for sure. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I like that.
Following that away.
But yeah, in that area, I was ultimately successful. And I kept my brain kept looking for reasons why I could invalidate this. Where it's like, well, everybody likes you, so they probably took it easy on you. I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, you did all the things you were supposed to do, and did them successfully. And then it's like, well, did someone help you? It's like, no, it was literally just me out there. Like I was the only person out there except for the other people that I had to fight. And so no, but my brain kept like trying to like cycle through all these things where it's like, how can we invalidate this success of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to. Oh, with me, I would consider myself successful at being a parent. There's stuff that I've done as a father, like I joke with my kid, and I'm like, there's stuff that I've probably done or said that you're gonna file away in your brain and be like, well, that's going to be therapy someday, Dad. And I was like, just by the nature of being a parent, there's stuff that I'm going to say that's probably hurt your feelings that you're going to confront me on. But overall, like, I feel like I'm a good parent. She's taken care of. I've got a 2-bedroom place specifically so she has a place now when she needs to stay. Everything I do as far as planning for the future revolves around having a place that can support having her for as long as she needed or wanted to stay with me.
Nice.
I never think about moving and getting a 1-bedroom somewhere. It's always at father. And Ryan, I would say that you are successful as a father as well. I think you're way too hard on yourself. That's part of the nature of this podcast, is telling you you're too hard on yourself. And
Yes.
I know that
It comes up a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
I know that doesn't really affect you probably as far as hearing that, but you're a good dad.
Well, I appreciate it.
You think of some of the shit that some of the people that we saw in junior high, the kids, like how they lived and their parents lived.
Yeah.
You're a good parent.
I agree.
Well, thanks. Thank
Hands
you.
down.
I mean, I consider, as far as like my kids are good people, and they are fulfilled and interesting and morally upright and care about others. So in that regard, I consider I have been a successful parent to them, as far as like the element of teaching them how to human.
That alone is a
like
lot more than most people do, or not most people, but a lot of people do with their kids. So.
Yeah.
And my final question, do you feel like your failures have made you more resilient?
In a weird way, I think so.
Because it's cliche to be like, well, the failures will make you stronger. I feel like that's very cliche to say, and it's I kind of get sick of it when people say that shit to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'd rather not deal with it and be weak, I guess.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, for me anyway, it's like, oh, I guess this didn't kill me. I guess I'll learn to live with this, because and that was like a weird lesson for me, because I went through a horrific divorce twice, and I remember the first time it happened, I was like, oh, like I don't know that I can go through this. Like, I don't know that I can survive this. And then I fucking did.
Yeah.
And then when it happened again, I was like, ugh, this sucks, but I know it's not enough to fucking kill me, so I guess we'll just keep going.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know that it made me more resilient. I think it made me wiser, made me know what to avoid or how to live my life in a way where I wouldn't have to repeat the bigger failures. The relationship thing keeps coming up. I don't really have the fear of that happening again, but I also knew that if I was going to enter into a marriage again, that I would only do it if it was with the right person, and there was only one right person, and there was a right choice, and it was an easy and obvious choice. But I don't think if I didn't have that right choice person, I'm pretty sure I'd never get married again.
Yeah.
So I don't think that makes me resilient. I think that makes me wise, and if anything, makes me more afraid to go through the pain and suffering of certain situations again. If that makes sense.
So, yeah, it does. I was trying to think of an analogy, but I couldn't think of anything that didn't sound like an early 2000s emo song.
Well, then say something that sounds like an early 2000 emo song.
So your back is just covered in scars, right?
I don't know this reference.
It's not a reference. I'm just saying it sounds like something that would be.
Oh, it does very much so, because I thought it was real.
No, I can reference all kinds of stuff though. If you want some Taking Back Sunday, some brand new.
Mm-hmm. That would be great.
I only know that one song that was on the Spider-Man sound. I don't remember what it was called.
So I'm bringing back a thing that we haven't done in a while, and it was a fan favorite feature. And I say it's a fan favorite feature because it was my feature, so I want to pretend that it's a fan favorite. So do we want to do this first, or do we want to wrap up the failure topic first?
Can
I
I
know we've got
interject with something just real quick?
certainly.
Ryan, I'm going to look at you specifically for this one because you're up here for me. Ryan,
I was gonna say that's Brandon.
I want to
looking at you too, Ryan.
I want to let you know that
I'm gonna look at Dave.
I want to let you know this hasn't actually been a podcast. You've been set up from the start. You're actually on Dave wears douchey sunglasses until Ryan says something, and you never said something.
I wasn't
You've
gonna
been
say
douched. You've been douched. You've been douched by Dave.
I want you to know. Obviously, I recognized you wearing aviator sunglasses. I assumed. My first thought was, this is honest to God, the truth. My first thought was, he probably has something on his computer screen, and that he's going to read later, and so he doesn't want us. Because I know that a lot of times people who do like YouTube videos, they'll wear sunglasses so people can't see their eyes like trace across the screen.
Gotcha.
So that's what I honestly assumed. I assumed you were being professional in this circumstance.
And then I did that to you instead.
I gotta say, you can really pull off those sunglasses while you record.
Yeah, they matched your overall vibe, I feel like.
Right?
Like
That's what I was
the-
saying.
the-
He looks
the
like
Hawaiian
a
shirt.
cooler Jimmy Buffett.
Well, maybe I should
Yeah.
start. Maybe I should start wearing them while we record. That I'll just wear a different Hawaiian shirt and those sunglasses, or a different pair of aviators every time we record from
You
now on.
can. I mean,
call
I
you
wear,
Iceman.
You may call me Iceman.
if you go back and look at all our videos, I'm literally wearing the same thing in all of them. Because I largely wear the same thing every day. My coworker informs me that this is because I'm autistic as hell, she says.
Wow, thank you, coworker.
It's true.
But you've got a good outfit though. It's like it's definitely your costume. It's like the Ryan.
Yeah, it's my,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you doing over there? You doing something weird?
I was laughing at you.
Oh. So yeah, let's wrap up the topic and then do your thingy. Do you agree, Ryan?
Yeah, sure.
Go.
All right, that's good because Ryan's the one that wraps it up. So Ryan,
Fuck. I thought for sure.
gotcha.
Fuck.
So wrap up failure. Explain to us not just failure, but the
is that all?
plot of Treasure Island.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned that because Treasure Island is actually kind of about failure if you think about it. Like
Oh,
Long John Silver
shit.
ultimately fails in that movie, in in that book, and fuck, what was the name of the pirate from the beginning? Billy Bones? I can't remember, but the whole thing hinges on the fact that he fucking failed. But I mean, if you think about like I don't know, like all great, mythological figures have some element of failure in them. You could even look at like King Arthur or even Luke Skywalker or Neo, but that's not really relevant. I think that, I mean, failure is just, it's inevitable, isn't it? And I don't mean that in like a nihilistic term. I just mean that like Bruce Lee said, like nobody wins every fight. You know what I mean? So like, I think if you never fail, you never know how to deal with failure. It's the Kobayashi Maru. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In for our listeners who aren't fucking dorks, in Star Trek, there's this test called the Kobayashi Maru, which is a completely unwinnable scenario, and the test is designed to be unwinnable, and you cannot pass it. And it's designed specifically to teach you how to handle failure. And it's something that I think like a lot of people just don't do, because I mean we're a success-based culture. Like failure is punished in our society.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. Like if you fail, like, oh well, you're fucked, your business is, you're done, or you're, circumstances are beyond repair, so whatever. Like failure is ultimately punished in our society rather than like, learned from ultimately.
Right.
And I think like that's the as Yoda put it in The Last Jedi, failure is the ultimate teacher. And as long as you allow yourself to like actually learn the lesson from your failure, then it wasn't really wasted,
Yeah.
And the old adage in there's an old uh, I think it's a samurai proverb. It's like if you fall down 7 times, stand up 8. And
Yeah.
and so like when you don't in that capacity, like you don't fail until you stop standing up. You know what I mean? It's like you can keep getting knocked down, but like, as long as you, like I said, you learn, you take that lesson and get back up again.
Chumbawamba
And
style.
yeah, exactly, Brandon. Thank you for that. Although, what's funny is when you said that in my mind, I pictured Smash Mouth.
No, because you get back down, get
No,
knocked
no,
down.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You fall back down, you knock down, but you get back up again. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure that.
Pissing the night away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or is it
Pissing
pissing
the
his
night
life
away.
away?
Pissing the night away.
The night away?
Pissing the
Yeah.
night away. I drink a lot
Anyway,
drink.
yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna stop now.
you don't fail until you stop trying,
Exactly.
And even then, you can still learn from it. So
yeah, and I think that's
that's
ultimately like with this episode what I wanted to do. I know just us focusing on things that we think we failed at isn't the cheeriest episode, but I kind of hoped, and I feel like we did sort of go through and view our failures from another angle,
I agree.
view our perceived failures from another angle.
I agree.
And I think that's important for if we're bringing a little bit of mental hellness to our listeners. I think that's something that you should do occasionally is try to look at your failures from a different aspect and think, even though I failed at this thing, how can I not only learn from it, but try to spin it into a success next time? Because at least for me, it's easy for me to be like, well, I failed. I think it's the gifted kid thing, I failed, so obviously I'm never going to succeed at it. Fuck it.
yeah,
So it's hard
you
to
gotta
do.
be. I understand. Like you want to be good at stuff, and it we and I don't know if it's a generational thing or if, like you said, it's a gifted kid thing or whatever. But there's this element of like if I can't instantly be good at this thing out the gate, then I have already failed. I'm humiliated, obviously, and so yeah.
Yeah, I own 4 stringed instruments that I don't know how to play. 4 separate types of stringed instruments that I've intended to try to learn and I haven't. So,
Guitar, banjo, ukulele, mandolin.
No mandolin, bass. Bass guitar is my other one.
All right.
But anyway, let's bring back this topic or this
Segment.
segment. Thank you for the word, David. And this is called, drum roll, Hey. Now you gotta stop. Hey, would you eat it? And the thing is, this time, caffeinated ramen noodles. They're called Boost noodles.
Oh my god.
They come in a. Have you ever seen that applesauce you can get in the squeeze container and like slurp it on the
I hate
go?
what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's like that, but they're caffeinated ramen noodles. They're made for gamers, so you can game with one hand while you slurp with the other.
Okay. I hate
They're
the
called
premise.
Boost noodles.
Boost noodles?
Yes.
Now, if they were called noodle boosters, then I'd be
Noodle
down.
boosters.
Then I'd eat them.
Send nudes or something.
Noodle booster sounds like something you'd call like a cute little, like, oh, you little noodle booster.
Brandon. It's obviously like street Viagra.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what Ryan got it.
It's
I guess
clearly
I'm
street Viagra.
I'm too innocent for my own good, I guess.
You made it cute. I liked it.
I need 20 of noodle boosters.
Yeah,
You're asking
what?
the guy behind the 7-Eleven.
20
Give me
what
some
now?
Yellow Jackets.
What'd you say? Say it louder. You need 20 what? Noodle
I know you heard
boosters. Noodle boosters.
I know you heard me.
So caffeinated ramen. You think you'd try it for a quick boost of energy on the go?
No, I'm not going to eat noodles out of a pouch.
Really?
Okay.
That's where you draw the
No.
line with noodles?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't think it would taste good in this particular instance because.
Oh no, it would be like a slurry,
Oh.
a sluice of noodles.
They got so. Are they? I have a lot of questions about this without looking at the product. Are they long? Are they like in there long, and then like you just hope that they kind of like line up with the end, and they get it like.
So it looks like they are so soaked. Okay, so like imagine chicken noodle soup, like Campbell's chicken noodle soup. You know how the noodles are so soft that they might as well not even have texture at all. They just like smush.
Yeah.
It looks like that.
So you kind of swallow them more than you do chew them.
Oh yeah, there's no chewing involved.
Here's the thing.
I'm not a fan of this.
Here's the thing. I have no problem with noodles being in a pouch. That doesn't bother me. I have no problem with them being caffeinated. That's cool. Where I'm drawing the line is definitely going to be the texture thing, because I do think. And also, do you heat these up or do you drink them cold?
Room temperature.
No.
Yeah, so I would want some heat to them. If they had at least a little bit of texture and they had a little bit of heat to them, I'd be fine with it. But the texture and the room temperature aspect of it is not. What flavor are they? Are they like chicken and beef?
I don't know.
Pork?
I don't think there's multiple flavors. I think it's just one flavor.
It's just noodle?
Just noodle flavored.
What flavor is this? Vegetable.
Any specific one, or just
No.
just the idea of vegetables is what it tastes like.
That's the concept
The
of vegetable.
concept of vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a real life scenario. We got a bunch of food donated into our program, and one was just a can that said vegetable, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And so ultimately, someone pointed out, they're like, "Dude, it's vegetable soup," and I was like, "Oh,
Makes sense.
I thought this was just a can of vegetable."
That's amazing. It was like some kind of government created vegetable 43.
It's
Vegetable 43.
vegetable slurry.
My
Vegetable
favorite
slurry
Dragon Ball
supplement.
character. Are we gonna do a Gray Matter Munchies, David, or?
We've been going long. We might as well do a quick one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm feeling mighty peckish. Sometimes you need to watch stuff for your brain. I don't have it memorized, and I don't have it in front of me. So, go back and listen to one where I was prepared. And now let's talk about what we've been consuming for our mental hellness. Ryan, what have you been consuming for your mental hellness?
Okay, so I just plowed through the 2 seasons of Rings of Power.
Oh, yeah.
Which was fucking awesome.
Dude, I've heard so many people be like, Rings of Power is shitting on Tolkien's grave.
Those people don't know Tolkien.
This is the
thing.
Amazon one, right?
Yeah.
New Amazon show? Okay.
Yeah, those people don't know Tolkien, for one thing. And for another thing, they're actually just mad because black dwarves and elves, and they don't want to say that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I could
They
see
got
that.
so mad about there being black dwarves, and I was like, well, they're fucking dwarves and elves. They're magical creatures. They can look like whatever the fuck we want them to look like, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's lots of media where there are actually specific races of elves that are dark skinned. So, come on.
Yeah, they've been around for like ever.
It's not
And
weird.
then same thing with dwarves. Same things with dwarves in fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
But the show is, I recommend it. It's fucking awesome. It's metal as hell, as Lord of the Rings often is.
It is good.
And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And actually, some characterizations are closer to the book versions. Like Elrond, half-elven, for example, is much closer to his characterization in the books than he is in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. And that's not a criticism; it's just an observation.
Yeah. I've been watching this, and I've been watching there's a YouTube channel that I trust the research and background of quite a bit. It's called New Rock Stars. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or watched it. Well, watching it along with their take on it, and there definitely are some things that have been changed in the show, of course. That happens all the time, and some of the things kind of big changes, but I don't think it's enough to where it's detracting from the history and lore of Tolkien or anything. So,
are you current on it?
Yeah, I've seen it all.
So you've seen the season finale? Mm-hmm. Okay, so some people were bent out of shape about that particular character showing up, because canonically he's not supposed to show up for like until the third age, and I was like, right. Oh, okay. Well, have you considered it's awesome?
Yeah, it is. It is awesome.
Was it Boba Fett?
It was Boba Fett.
It was.
Yeah.
It was Captain
Sorry to
Jack
spoil.
Sparrow.
Jetpacked in.
Yeah.
Sorry to spoil, but it actually was Iron Man. But
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing, really.
I love a good crossover.
Yeah. Well, Disney's good for it. This wasn't a Disney production, but I feel like those characters we just mentioned were so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been munching on over there, little muncher?
Yum, yum. I've been playing No Man's Sky still. A bunch, an insane amount, really. When you don't work and you have nothing else to do besides apply for jobs. I mean, how long does applying for jobs really take? Everything's fucking done online anymore. I can spend hours putting in online applications, but at the end of the day, I still have hours free to myself. And that's being taken up with No Man's Sky.
Right on.
Yeah.
A big expansion just came out for No Man's Sky?
A few weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
They're working on a new game called Light No Fire, and they're like backwards. They're taking the tech from Light No Fire and putting it into No Man's Sky, like the water. They just had a huge water update, so the water looks crazy now. It looks really good. But so they added fishing and it sounds boring as shit, but it's actually pretty fun.
I mean, there's a lot of people.
That's not boring. That's not boring. That's soothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cozy game, as they like to call it now.
It is.
Yeah.
And you can still fly around your spaceship and shoot pirates too if you want to. So.
Yeah.
I just decorated my camp in Fallout 70 Halloween.
Nice.
Hell yeah. All right, so that's all I've been consuming. David, have you been consuming anything?
Yeah. So we watched the rest of the Rings of Power series. Like I said, we're watching Agatha All Along right now, which.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, you do. It's pretty good. I've actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's very hokey, as they kind of made Agatha's character in WandaVision. That vibe carries over, and there's a lot of musical numbers in it and stuff like that. But I think they did it in a really, really entertaining and good way so far, at least. And there's some good little mysteries in there, and Aubrey Plaza's character, at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but they're actually what they do with her, and I think where it's headed is going to be really, really interesting and cool. So highly recommend that. Show wise, I can't think of anything else of note. Been playing a lot of video games. Beat the hell out of Animal Well, which I could do an entire episode on. Just that is an amazing, beautiful pixel art puzzle, side-scrolling platforming puzzle game that just has so many depths and layers of puzzles. Like, it's a little tiny Metroidvania on the surface, and then there's another crazy level, and then beyond that there's another crazy level, and there's still probably a lot of stuff that people haven't even discovered yet. And I heard a podcast called The Besties that's got the McElroy brothers in it. And one of the things they said, where they weren't trying to give away any secrets about this game, they said it actually enters into your world. And I thought what they meant by that was that you would think about it a lot, or there'd be some like ARG type of shit. But there's a moment, if you do something in the game, where it affects your world without you expecting it. And it was the most buck wild thing that I've ever seen a video game do. And I still think about it to this day. And I actually have something. I almost want to pull something off of my shelf that's like right up here and show it to you. But again, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, just in case it ever in case you guys want to play it, because that is I don't want to spoil that moment, because that's one of those like, what the fuck just happened? What did you just do? Are you serious, game? Kind of thing. And there's lots of those moments, but that one in particular was just kind of buck wild. So that kind of got us on a puzzle game trip. So been playing The Witness a lot. And that's really good in different ways. Like, that's one of those games where just it's mind bending, and then you solve a puzzle, or you finally think, oh, I know what the game wants me to do here, and you do it and it works, and you're like, what the fuck? And been playing Inscription. I've been playing Noita. What else? I need to go and beat Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't played that for a while, but
You know, a game you need to check out. I know I always make suggestions, but this is one that's been getting a lot of press. You might have even heard about it already. It's called UFO 50.
Yeah, I've been thinking about picking it up. Yeah. 50 different small games that kind of tell one big story, like, and have puzzles and stuff.
Of like a fake production company.
Yeah.
That made these games. Yeah. Sounds cool.
It does sound cool. I do think I want to pick that up, actually. And then there's a game that Ryan needs to get so that we can all play together, because Brandon and I played it the other night. And that game is called what's it called? Phasmophobia. It is a terrible game, and an awesome game all at the same time. It's you want to describe it real quick, Brandon?
So you're basically ghost hunters. You show up in a truck, and you have a bunch of ghost hunting tools that you can take, and you equip them on your person, and you go into a house and like turn on the lights, and you have black lights to see if there's ghost handprints, and you find all kinds of weird stuff. And then the house perpetually gets more haunted. Like, you have a ghost journal that you look at to be like, okay, the ghost is doing X, Y, and Z, so obviously we're dealing with an angry djinn, stuff like that. That's all stuff that we didn't figure out, David. I looked into it later.
No, we
were
did
just
not.
in the house dying over and over. But it's a very it's a fun game, and if you got it, Ryan, I don't know if you'd be able to run it, but I don't think it's very intensive.
So it's what is it on?
PC.
I thought it was cross-platform. Didn't we discover that?
It is coming out at the end of this month on PS5.
Well, yeah, I'll look into it. Would I be able to play with you guys on?
If it's cross-platform, then yes.
Okay, cool.
Or if your system could run it, because it's not too intense. I mean, it's like very not intense, actually, like as far as like a performance standpoint is concerned. But in game lore, Brandon and I are twin brothers. And so we think that we should, in game lore, discover that we have a triplet, and that would be you, of course. And
we can make that work, for sure.
And maybe we could even record a special little episode for our viewers and listeners as well.
I would love to do that.
I would absolutely love to do that. But
that would be fun.
All right. Well, this is a hour and a half long episode, so.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything else you want to say? Anything you need to get off your big muscly chests before we finish this episode?
No.
Not that I know of.
All right. Well, until we record again, I've been your host for this episode, Brandon Full, Shepherd of the Forest.
And I have been your very best friend, Ryan Brown.
And I'm the man kissed by all angels, David Musgrave. And we're probably not okay.